Come sit with me for a moment, sweetheart. Pull up a chair right here next to mine. I have been wanting to have this conversation with you for a while now, and I am not the kind of woman who puts off things that matter. We are talking about olive oil today. Now, before you tell me you already know everything about it, I want you to stay right here with me, because what I am about to share changed the way I look at this little bottle completely. And I wish with every bone in this 79-year-old body that someone had sat down and told me these things 30 years ago, before I learned some of them the hard way. I'm 79 years old. I have raised 4 children. I have sat in more doctors' offices than I ever imagined possible when I was young and foolishly believed I would feel 30 forever. I take my medications every morning with my tea. I manage my blood pressure. I watch my heart. And somewhere along the way, like most of us do, I decided that olive oil was my daily blessing, something pure and ancient and trustworthy in a world full of processed nonsense. Then things started happening. To me, to my dear friend Ruth down the street, to my sister-in-law Patricia, who ended up in the hospital on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday afternoon, and none of us could understand why. And slowly, through years of conversations with doctors, of reading, of paying very close attention, I began to understand something nobody had ever explained to us simply. This beautiful oil, when we use it the wrong way, when we use it without thinking, when we pile it on top of the pills we take and the conditions we manage, it quietly stops being a blessing and starts being a problem. So today I want to sit with you the way a grandmother sits with someone she truly loves, and go through the 10 things I have learned about olive oil that every one of us past 60 absolutely must know. And I saved the most important warning for last because that one, my dear, is the one that genuinely could make a difference for your life. Before we get into all of it, leave me a comment below and tell me how you use olive oil at home. Do you cook with it, drizzle it, take it by the spoonful in the morning the way my neighbor Francis does? I read every single comment personally. This little community we have built here is the closest thing I have to a front porch full of friends, and every word you write matters to me. Now, the first thing you need to understand before we go through this list is why these things hit us so differently than they would hit a younger person. Because I hear people say all the time, "Oh, my daughter does this and nothing happens to her." And what I want you to understand is that our bodies work differently now. Our liver, the organ that processes everything we eat, including all that fat in olive oil, it takes its time. Our kidneys work at their own unhurried pace. And most of us are taking medications every single day to manage things that have developed over a long and full life. Blood pressure, cholesterol, heart rhythm, thyroid, blood sugar. When you bring a food as powerful as olive oil into that picture without thinking it through, things can happen that genuinely surprise you. That is exactly what happened to people I loved. So let us begin. Number 10 is the mistake that sits underneath all the others, and I made it myself for years, so I say this with great tenderness and no judgment whatsoever. It is the belief that because something is good for you, more of it must be even better. When my doctor told me my cholesterol was creeping up, I read everything I could find. And everything said olive oil, olive oil, olive oil, the Mediterranean diet, the people in Greece who live to 100. I was convinced and I was enthusiastic, and I started putting it on absolutely everything. My eggs in the morning, my salad at lunch, my vegetables at dinner. I stopped measuring because why would you measure something healthy? That is like counting how many times you smile. Then I gained weight I could not explain, and my cholesterol numbers went sideways, and I sat in my doctor's chair completely baffled. Here is what my body had been trying to tell me. 1 single tablespoon of olive oil contains 119 calories. Beautiful, nourishing calories, yes, but calories all the same. And at our age, with a metabolism that runs at a more thoughtful pace, those extra calories find their way to our midsection with a swiftness that is honestly a little insulting. Carrying extra weight around your belly presses on your heart, disrupts your blood sugar, and aches in your knees every single morning. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day is truly all you need to receive every good thing this oil has to offer. I know it feels like so little, but your body in this season of life does not need more. It needs it to be good quality and consistent, and we will talk about both of those things. Number 9 genuinely shocked me when I first learned it, and I think it will surprise you too. The assumption that what is written on the label of your olive oil bottle is the honest truth. I am not a cynical woman by nature, but researchers who study food quality have found that a very large percentage of bottles sold in ordinary supermarkets labeled as extra virgin olive oil, the finest grade with all the therapeutic properties, actually contain cheaper oils mixed in, sometimes old oil that has already started going bad. If what is in your bottle is not truly extra virgin, you are not getting the benefits you are counting on. You are just consuming fat calories. And if that oil has already gone rancid inside the bottle before it even reaches you, you are actually introducing something into your body that promotes the very inflammation you are trying to fight. What I look for now is a harvest date printed on the label, not an expiration date. A harvest date that tells you exactly when those olives were pressed. I buy it in dark glass, never clear plastic, and I smell it before I use it. Good fresh olive oil smells green and grassy and slightly peppery at the back of your throat. If it smells like old paint or stale air or simply like nothing at all, that oil is past its best and you deserve better. Number 8 involves a medication many of you take because I take it too. Blood thinners, warfarin, those precious medications that keep our blood flowing properly and protect us from strokes. Olive oil contains natural compounds, vitamin E and certain polyphenols, that have a mild natural effect on how quickly blood clots. For most people, this is actually one of its lovely qualities. But when you are already taking a pharmaceutical blood thinner, your doctor calculated your exact dose without necessarily knowing about your daily olive oil habit. Stack a natural blood thinning effect on top of a pharmaceutical one, and you may end up with blood that is thinner than it should be. What does that look like in real life? Bruises appearing from the gentlest bump against a kitchen cabinet. A small cut taking an alarmingly long time to stop bleeding. And in more serious cases, internal bleeding that begins without any obvious cause. My friend Ruth spent 3 weeks with her warfarin dose being adjusted and readjusted before her doctor finally asked in detail about her diet, and we all realized together that she had recently started cooking Mediterranean style and was using olive oil generously every day. The olive oil was not the villain. The lack of communication was. If you take a blood thinner, tell your doctor specifically how you use olive oil. Write it down before your next appointment. Number 7 is something I suspect you do every single day because I did it for most of my adult life and nobody ever told me there was anything wrong with it. Cooking with olive oil over high heat. I can picture my own kitchen, the pan going on the burner, the oil going in, the heat going up to get my onions soft and golden the way I love them. It feels ancient and right and deeply domestic in the best possible sense. But here is what is happening inside that pan. Every fat has a temperature beyond which it stops being stable and begins to break down chemically. For extra virgin olive oil, that temperature is around 375 degrees. A stovetop burner on medium-high pushes a pan well beyond that. When olive oil crosses that point, the compounds that protect your heart and calm inflammation are destroyed by the heat, and in their place your pan is producing compounds that inflame your blood vessels and stress your liver. The same kinds of compounds found in cigarette smoke. For high-heat cooking, I use avocado oil now, or sometimes just a small amount of butter which handles heat beautifully. I save my good olive oil for drizzling over finished dishes, dressing salads, stirring into warm soup just before I bring it to the table. That is where it truly shines. That is where you receive everything it has to give. Number 6 is something I see recommended constantly in wellness circles, and I understand the appeal, but I need to tell you what my doctor said when I asked about it, because it concerned me enough that I stopped immediately. Taking a large spoonful of olive oil first thing in the morning on a completely empty stomach as a daily health ritual. I know why people do it. There is research supporting olive oil and liver health. There are old traditions around morning oil. And when you believe in a food deeply, there is something emotionally satisfying about making it the very first thing you give your body each day. But here is what happens inside you when significant fat arrives in a completely empty stomach. Your gallbladder contracts forcefully to release bile to digest that fat. For most people, this passes without incident. But for anyone who has gallstones, even small ones they do not know about yet because gallstones often sit silently for years, that sudden forceful contraction can push a stone toward the bile duct. And a bile duct obstruction is an emergency. The pain is severe and immediate. Have your olive oil with food. Drizzle it on your toast. Mix it into your breakfast. Let something else be present to moderate how your body receives it. Just as beneficial, far safer. Number 5 is for my friends managing blood sugar, and I want to be honest that this one took me the longest to understand because it seems so counterintuitive. Olive oil has no sugar and no carbohydrates. How could it possibly affect blood sugar? Here is the nuance nobody explains. Olive oil in reasonable amounts genuinely supports insulin sensitivity, which is wonderful. But when you consume large amounts of fat in one sitting, any fat, even this beautiful one, it slows down how quickly your stomach empties into your small intestine. Your medication was timed based on how quickly food normally moves through your system. When fat slows that process significantly, the timing no longer lines up the way your doctor intended. Blood sugar can drop unexpectedly or rise hours later in a way that seems to come from nowhere. If you manage diabetes and your readings have seemed inconsistent without explanation, the amount of fat in your meals, including olive oil, is worth raising with your doctor. Not to eliminate it, but to understand it. Number 4 is something every one of us needs to hear regardless of medications or conditions. It is about what happens when we store olive oil incorrectly and then consume oil that has already degraded without realizing it. Light breaks it down, heat breaks it down, air breaks it down, and the most unsettling part is that rancid olive oil does not always taste obviously rancid. It can taste slightly flat, a little stale, vaguely ordinary, and while you think nothing of it and drizzle it on your salad, you are introducing oxidized fats that directly promote inflammation in your arteries. The precise opposite of why you chose olive oil in the first place. I used to keep mine in a beautiful clear glass bottle on the windowsill above my kitchen sink because it looked lovely there in the afternoon light. That afternoon light was destroying it every single day. I moved it to a dark cabinet away from the stove. I started buying smaller bottles, so I finished them within a month of opening. Small changes, but they make an enormous difference in what you are actually consuming. If your olive oil smells even slightly off, flat, musty, grassy, gone wrong, pour it out, buy a fresh bottle. You deserve the real thing. Number 3 is about blood pressure medications. A woman I know, early 70s, was on 2 blood pressure medications that were working beautifully together. Then her pressure started coming in too low. She was getting dizzy when she stood up. She had fallen once and caught herself on the doorframe, but it frightened her badly. Nobody could figure out what had changed because her medications had not changed. A very detailed conversation eventually uncovered that her husband had recently started cooking Mediterranean-style meals, and her olive oil intake had gone from almost nothing to 3 or 4 tablespoons every day. Olive oil has a genuine, measurable blood pressure lowering effect. That is one of its gifts. But when you are already on medication designed to do the same job, adding olive oil's natural effect on top of pharmaceutical intervention can lower your pressure more than is safe, especially when you stand up quickly. A fall at our age is not a minor inconvenience. It can mean a fracture. It can mean weeks in a rehabilitation facility. It can change your independence permanently. Please tell your doctor if you are significantly increasing your olive oil use and you take anything for blood pressure. Number 2 involves a condition that many people have and do not know about. Studies suggest that somewhere between a third and nearly half of adults over 60 have some degree of fat accumulation in the liver, often completely undetected, often found accidentally during testing done for something else entirely. When people learn that olive oil supports liver health, which it genuinely does in appropriate amounts, some conclude that more must be better and start using it very liberally specifically to help their liver. But a liver already working to manage accumulated fat does not benefit from receiving large additional quantities of fat to process. It is already carrying a load. Giving it more does not lighten that load. It adds to it. Liver enzymes can become elevated. Inflammation in the liver tissue can worsen. The therapeutic amount that actually supports liver health rather than burdening it is still 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. If you have ever been told your liver enzymes are elevated or any imaging has mentioned fatty changes, please have a specific conversation with your doctor about fat intake before increasing your olive oil use. And now, my dear, we have arrived at number 1, the one I have been building toward this entire time, the one that I think about most when I talk to friends my age who take daily medications and love their olive oil and have never been told what I am about to tell you. It is about how olive oil affects the absorption of your medications, and I am going to explain it simply the way it was explained to me. Many medications we depend on every day, statins for cholesterol, thyroid hormone replacement, certain heart medications, are absorbed through our digestive system, and many of them are affected by the presence of fat in that system at the time they are being absorbed. For some medications, fat slows their absorption. For others, fat changes how much of the medication actually makes it into your bloodstream in an active working form. Now here is the part that truly matters. The danger is not that olive oil always reduces your medication's effectiveness. The real danger is inconsistency. Your doctor determined your dose based on how your body absorbs medication under fairly stable conditions. If some days you have a lot of olive oil with your medications and other days you have very little, your medication levels in your blood are fluctuating without your dose ever changing. For a blood pressure medication, this means unpredictable control. For a thyroid medication, this means erratic energy and mood, weeks where you feel clear and weeks where you feel inexplicably foggy. For a heart medication, it means inconsistent protection for the organ that matters most. My sister-in-law Patricia was meticulous about her thyroid medication, never missed a single dose, could not understand why some months her levels were fine and other months they were all over the place. It took a very persistent doctor asking about everything she ate and when she ate it to realize that her olive oil use was wildly inconsistent. Weekends she cooked elaborate meals and used quite a lot of it. Busy weekdays she sometimes used none at all. She was taking her thyroid pill every morning with breakfast, but what that breakfast contained in terms of fat varied enormously from day to day. Once she standardized her routine, and her doctor adjusted the timing of her medication accordingly, things settled down remarkably within just a few weeks. The solution is not to stop using olive oil. The solution is 2 words: consistency and communication. Use the same amount every single day. Take note of when you have it relative to your medications, and at your very next doctor's appointment, bring a written list of everything you take and ask directly, given my medications and my conditions, when should I be eating olive oil and how much is actually right for me? That one honest conversation could make everything your medications are trying to do for you work the way it was always intended. Before I let you go, I need to say something that comes straight from my heart. Everything I shared today was shared out of love, out of the deep belief that you deserve to know these things, that nobody should have to discover them the hard way the way some of us did. But none of what I said today replaces your own doctor's guidance. Your situation is yours alone. Your medications, your conditions, your history, your body. Please talk to your doctor before making any significant change. What I hope you take away is not fear of olive oil. I still use it every single day. I still believe in it. I still drizzle it over my tomatoes and my bread and my warm bowl of soup in the evening, and I always will. What I hope you take away is wisdom about it. The kind that comes from truly knowing something rather than just hearing it is good and leaving it at that. You deserve to feel well. You deserve for every good choice you make to actually work the way you intend it to. and you deserve someone sitting across from you every now and then and telling you the truth with kindness and without any rush. That is all I ever wanted to be for you here. Now go take your medications on time, eat something nourishing, and come back and tell me what you thought. I will be reading every single word you write.